Hello everybody, it's Gabby's Games, and welcome back to another patch note review with the preliminary information on the Crossout update 0.10.20. Note that this is for PC and not for console. Console updates are always late. I hope you guys don't really have to wait too much for this patch because there are some really interesting things here. So first up, they are increasing the earnings of uranium in clan battles. Mainly, it used to be top 30 and it's now top 60 places, so are twice as many clans are receiving uranium. So there's less of an elitist point here. Like you used to have to be top 30 no matter what, and now you can be top 60 and still be fine. And that should relieve a bit of stress in the clan rush and the competitive scene. And it's now held in the squad training best of three format. And changing the time of the weekly run over clan battles. So that's the change right here. Uh, last version, they gave out the uranium on in the night from Thursday to Friday, and now it's on Sunday between 11 and 15 GMT. So the round will take place at a more comfortable time. And on night of January 24, 25, there will still be some according to system, and the next instance will last until February the 3rd. And they do not change the standard schedule of clan wars that we got right here. You can pause the video, just take a look a moment, and then we're going to go back here. So let's move on to weapon balance changes, they say here, but funny enough, there are no changes to any weapons here. So based on the result of past mass testing, we decided to make the following changes on hovers. First up, they are not changing the durability of the hovers. They are not reducing it further, because that was a large complaint in the mass testing, like reducing the health of hovers even further. They are not doing that. They are, however, increasing the power score and also increasing the tonnage. Other than that, they are massively changing the way how hovers use power. In that, at first you could add four, and then the fifth one and onwards would take more and more energy power, like a diminishing return value. So you could have 4 to 5 hovers on a craft relatively comfortably, but once you added the sixth one or the seventh one, you really started to slow down significantly, and that's now changed to be reduced. So the Icarus 4 here has a power reducing factor of 8%, while the Icarus 7 is only 5%. That is because the Icarus 4 has a higher health value than the Icarus 7, so it's harder to shut off. And in return, it does reduce more power. And they also have a reduction in maximum speed by 12%. And this 12% is something I heard a lot of people complain about because they say like, oh, because of Mr.G's wheel comparison video, which I will link in the description below because it does show quite a bit, but it's just for comparison here. He did not take everything into account. So the first thing he didn't really take into account was terrain, especially if you're like playing the ship graveyard or bridge maps. You have a lot of water, and hovers are not affected by the water, while wheels are significantly slowed down by water. And because of this, and also because hovers were less affected by having more weight on the build than wheels had, in practice, hovers were often faster than wheels, even though in theory, wheels should be faster because the maximum speed limit to hovers. But now they are reducing that a bit more and trying to have them at the same speed. And again, like because of this change here, because you are no longer having diminishing returns, hover boats can come back. So like 8 to 10 hovers on a single build. And you might even see builds using heavier cabins, so Step a Spider, maybe even a Humpback or Icebox, that have like 15, 16 hovers on there. And they will be very high power score. And they will not be the fastest builds, but they will definitely be more like a tank, which is something pretty interesting. It's like, okay, we can have hover boats now again, but those are much heavier and probably will be slower because of reduced in engine power. And note that the power drain of an armored vehicle with 3 or fewer hovers will by default correspond the power drain of a vehicle with 4 hovers. This is to prevent the very low tier triple hover sideways builds using the Duster mainly. So it was basically Duster with a T-shaped frame and then 3 hovers. And those were one of the strongest low tier vehicles at the current time. So post update, I don't know how it's going to be reacting, but they should be significantly weaker now because they should not only be slower in both maximum speed, acceleration, because like the Duster has very little power, etc. But at the same time, the higher tier vehicles shouldn't be affected by this too much in terms of speed. When we tested the hovers in the dev server, the speed change with normal higher tier hovers wasn't really reduced or increased a lot. So this is going to be a very big change, and I hope it works how it is intended. So high tier hovers are not really changed much, maybe even get a slight buff, while low tier hovers should be drastically nerfed. And in addition, the update we plan to slightly increase the value of the bonus damage for each second of being invisible using the Ghost Cabin. So the Ghost Cabin had a 1% increase of damage while for being invisible, and with the Trinity Mark II, you had 10 seconds of invisibility, so 10% damage. On the test server, the proposed change was from 1% to 1.5%, so 15 damage increase. And I think it's fine. I mean, this cabin is only really used with spear builds, and it's not really used overall like a lot. So I don't mind having the increase in damage. What I think what actually would be handier is slightly increase the time of the increased damage. So it's less dependent on one shot. So it could be useful with other weapons than just the spears. They are increasing the amount of energy given by the favorite to 12, which is something I don't think is going to be a smart idea, because the favorite has one of the best perks of like any cabin in the game, and then giving it just the same amount of energy as all the higher and the lighter medium cabins is not something just support, because like would you rather have some increased accuracy from a Torero, or would you be like, okay, if you're not using heat based weapons, sure, but if you're using machine guns, let's say, would you rather have a random instant cooldown, or would you want to have a slightly increased accuracy? I think I would choose the cooldown over the accuracy anytime. They're also increasing the power and resistance from damage from collisions to the Cerberus cabin. So they have increased engine power, which increases acceleration a bit, makes it better with hovers actually. And the resistance from damage from collisions basically when you drive at an enemy and ram them. Because often, especially if you're rammed like a plow or something, you would actually get quite a considerable amount of damage from the Cerberus. And it will drastically reduce your likelihood of surviving that engagement, and this collision damage should slightly fix that. Funny enough, they are apparently not changing the ice box, because the ice box was supposedly gonna get a perk buff from 10% damage to limited turning weapons to 15% damage increase on limited turning weapons. But apparently they're not making that change here, unless they decide to actually make it anyways, but they forgot to mention it for some reason. But that said, we're going to go on to the next two parts here. The first one is going to be Steel Championship, so the football mode is returning, and it's from February the 1st to February the 3rd. So only 3 days, which is kind of a bummer, and because it was a fun game mode. It did get boring pretty fast, but for a while it was really fun to do. And this picture does look like not like the normal arena and not like the normal builds. So they might have new builds in new arena, but I honestly don't think so. I think that it's just gonna be the same as last year. And I think I'm gonna do some live streams with the Steel Championship and some custom games so we can throw a lot of you guys in there and have some fun. And next up is gonna be the lighting changes. And you guys can see here how more crisp everything is rendered, much more high definition. Here you can see the fog, and here you can see like how the shadows are way more detailed, and like the light difference is way higher. So contrast has been improved, and overall details have been improved. And also there's the skybox effects. As you guys can see, like the clouds and here you can see fog. And with some maps, they added darkness, so it was like night-ish. It wasn't really night, but it wasn't well. It wasn't dark enough to be full night, but you could see, especially with things like the will-o-wisp paint, you could see things glowing in the dark, and it was really really cool looking. And I really hope there are more than just. I hope there are more like night maps than just the tower map. And as mentioned here, they're trying to rework the lighting system, and they changed dispersion of sun rays in the atmosphere and clouds, color brightness of the sun, and will correspond to time of day better takes place. Now it will be if there's more expressively reflects such weather conditions, so for example fog and sandstorms, etc. And in the future, the changes will also allow us to change the time of day and weather condition at the locations, which I'm really, really excited for. I really want to see like have the battles be dynamic, so you can have like at one time you can have battles during the day and then during the night. But what I do want to see, like watched out for, is that the sun right now can actually blind people at like at the higher graphic settings. So it must be sure to like if you have the map like this and like one base is here and one base is there, that the sun goes in this line and not in some diagonal line, because then one team can have the advantage over the other because the sun is shining in one of the team's eyes. And that's just something I really want to have the developer team watch out for. But I'm not sure even if they can change that. So we'll have to see how that works out. And they also are making customization kits here untradeable. And now the Artisan and Tinkerer packs are also untradeable. So you can no longer buy them on the market. And this is actually a problem. I'm not going to explain why, but there are some CKs that actually improve the weapons in some way or another. One of the CKs actually has a bug with it that drastically improves the weapon it is attached to once assigned. And if this happens, it almost becomes like there are some uh, loot boxes in this game. Like you craft them, and if you get the right CK, you can actually get a better build than you have if you don't have them. I'm not gonna say which one it is and why, because then some people might actually start abusing that bug. But I just hope that this is enough to put some awareness to that there are some issues with CKs that the developers should look at. And overall, I hope that CKs become more prevalent like this, that they are like can make the artisan ticker spec cheaper to make or something like that, or include CKs with new packs. That would be cool. And they are also selling some CKs now in the customization shop section. So the Guardsman for the Avenger, Demon for the Spectre, Redbird for the Rapier, Leopard for the Sledgehammer, and a Hinderigami for the Harvester. I don't really have the game open right now, and since it's actually currently being patched, I cannot show you guys all of these customization kits. But here you can see this Hinderigami. And actually, relevant thing here, in the night map, so the tower map, these eyes here on the skull glow up, and the sparks from when you're actually attacking somebody also look really cool then. And just like the glowing eyes alone there is almost something like I just find worth it. I'm not sure how expensive these will be, but adding monetization through customization kits is something I don't necessarily mind, as long as I don't make them too expensive. Like Guardsman, I really think it shouldn't be more than $1. I think it should be less than $1. I think like this entire pack here should be $5, maybe $10. But each CK can be purchased separately, so I don't think that's gonna happen. I do know that like Snow Leopard is something, and Leopard are really cool looking. They're all really all of these are pretty cool looking. The Guardsman is pretty simple, but all of these are really cool looking. But for the Rapier and Sledgehammer, those are guns that aren't really used a lot. Spectre's also not used that much. So I don't think these will be really be used that much. Well, the Hinderigami is definitely one that I expect to see more often now. Also, in the next update, they're reworking the skills of the Misty, Perseus, and Hans co-drivers. So first, Hans skills are as followed. First level wheels, tracks, and mechanical legs and hovers all have an 1% health increase. Then the second level is the total vehicle health is increased by 1%. Then cannons reload rate plus 1%. So that's not reloading time reduced, but reloading rate increased. So basically, if you have a cannon with a 10-second reload, if you have 200% reload rate, then the reload will be 5 seconds. So it's not like, oh, you will reduce zero point 0.1 seconds off it. You will only decrease it by 0.05 seconds, basically, if you have a 10-second reload. So this is something to watch out for. Like, it is less good than it seems to be. Sidekick cooldown is minus 5%. This is something I think is like a bit too specific, and like Clarinet flight time plus 2 seconds, only affecting one part is like Rocketeer, why not give flight time increase to the Pyre as well? Because those have limited flight times as well. Like stuff like that is something like make these perks a bit more shared between weapons and parts to make it a bit more useful. Here now, Savvy number 2, increasing the health of the moving parts by an additional 2%. Then an additional 1% health increase with Resilient 2. Another 1% reload change. And then level 9, Experienced. 10, Protected. Caucasus, optimal and maximum range plus 5%. Again, only for the Caucasus. And here's only for the Sidekick, only for the Clarinet toe. Now, Savvy 3, an additional 2% increase on health. So it can be actually 5% for tracks. And that probably also includes Goliath tracks. So that's an additional 5% health on those, which can be pretty good. Here, Jawbreaker and Humpback maximum speed plus 5 km an hour, which is actually pretty cool. So actually, you can have a Humpback build with Goliaths, and they not only it gets some increased maximum speed, but it also gets very much increased health there. Mandrake 5% accuracy at level 15, which is something I don't think is going to be useful at all, to be honest. Again, too much specific things here to really be useful. And the Mandrake won't be using Jawbreaker on back because they will need a 12 energy cabin to get the 16 energy to run double Mandrake. Stuff like that. Yeah, they're not going to be affected by the reload rate. I guess they will have the total health and the movement part increase. Like, please, people, add some cohesion with these perks. Then small but crucial kill screens will also be the Misty and Perseus as said. The one-shot perks will no longer only affect Junkbow, but also Fafnir and Nidhogg. That is basically a bug fix. Strong precision from Misty will not only increase the ability for shift wheels, but also for the Augur's Meat Grinder. And then the Perseus skills that are affecting machine guns and miniguns will also work for rapid fire machine guns now. In addition, we also plan to add the Decker from various spare wheels to the Decker container. So the word here that I'm interested in is various. So currently we only have a Decker variant of the medium wheel, so the common part. And various spare wheels does suggest like there will be more different kinds of spare wheels. And if that happens, I'm actually really excited for that as well for art builders, because if they want to have a like Jeep with a spare wheel, they they generally wanted to use things like race wheels, twin wheels, or APC wheels, and they couldn't use a spare wheel because it didn't match. And I hope that we get to see at least some of those, or maybe like maybe even like the Bigfoot wheel. That would actually be a huge piece of Decker. I really wonder which ones they're gonna be adding there. And note, this is gonna be coming today, so later today I'll actually going into the game and trying out some of this stuff and upload a video for you guys as well. And please note that the plans described in this article are preliminary and may change in the development process or never make it to the game. This is a standard line here that they always have. I think 99% of everything that is said here will make it into the game. And that said, like I do wonder whether it may be like the icebox change, something like that, might actually be in here, even though it's not mentioned, because again, it's preliminary information, not the actual patch notes. But that's that. That's really all I got for you guys. Like, I'm really excited for, especially the change in graphics. But with the hover changes and favorite cabin changes is something just I really want to have the developers like keep a close eye to and give those additional balance change when needed. I do not expect that hovers will be entirely fixed now, but this should be a step in the right direction. That's that. I hope you guys enjoyed watching as always. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos. Like if you like this. Share it if possible, if you guys have the time for it. It really helps this channel and it helps me out. I put a lot of effort into making these videos every day, and just getting a bit more notice would be really, really nice for you guys. And that's it. I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.